We all know the Wild West as a land of untamed wilderness, fearless outlaws, and legendary gunfights. But while the stories of their exploits have been told time and time again, the way these legends met their end is often shrouded in mystery, tragedy, and a few surprises. As we delve into the final moments of these 12 Wild West icons, you might find yourself questioning what you thought you knew about them. Was Wild Bill Hickok truly caught off guard in that fateful saloon? Did Billy the Kid see his death coming, or was he outsmarted in the dark? And what about Jesse James? Was his end a result of betrayal, or was there more to the story? Get ready to step back into a time of danger, deceit, and a harsh reality where even the mightiest fail. The answers might surprise you. It all started with Wild Bill Hickok, a man who seemed larger than life, known for his long hair, flashy clothes, and incredible aim. Hickok was a gambler, scout, and lawman whose reputation as a deadly gunfighter spread quickly. He was famous for his involvement in numerous shootouts and his role as a lawman in tough towns like Abilene and Deadwood. Wild Bill was always careful, never sitting with his back to the door so he could see trouble coming. But on one fateful day in 1876, while playing poker in a saloon in Deadwood, South Dakota, Hickok let his guard down. He took the only available seat, which faced away from the door. That's when Jack McCall, a bitter drifter, saw his chance. McCall walked up behind Hickok and shot him in the back of the head, killing him instantly. Hickok died holding a pair of black aces and eights, forever known as the dead man's hand. But Hickok wasn't the only one who met an unexpected end. Not far away, another legend was making a name for himself. Billy the Kid, born Henry McCarty, was a young outlaw whose quick draw and reckless nature made him infamous. By the age of 18, Billy had already been involved in cattle rustling, horse theft, and gunfights that left several men dead. He was charming but dangerous, always one step ahead of the law. Sheriff Pat Garrett finally caught him in 1881, but Billy escaped from jail, killing 2 guards in the process. Garrett tracked him down again to a dark room at Pete Maxwell's ranch in New Mexico. Hiding in the shadows, Garrett shot Billy dead as soon as he walked in, ending the short but violent life of one of the West's most notorious outlaws. And then there was Doc Holliday, a frail-looking dentist-turned-gambler who became famous not just for his skills at cards, but for his deadly accuracy with a gun. Holliday, suffering from tuberculosis, knew his days were numbered, so he lived every moment like it was his last. He became close friends with Wyatt Earp, joining him in the famous gunfight at the OK Corral, where they faced off against a group of outlaws in a deadly shootout that lasted only 30 seconds. Despite his fierce reputation, it wasn't a bullet that killed Doc Holliday. Seeking a drier climate to ease his condition, he moved to Colorado, where he spent his final days in a sanatorium. On his deathbed in 1887, he reportedly looked at his bare feet and chuckled, "This is funny," since he had always expected to die with his boots on, not in bed. He died quietly, far from the gunfights and saloons that had defined his life. Meanwhile, Jesse James was carving out his own bloody path. A former Confederate guerrilla, Jesse turned to robbing banks, trains, and stagecoaches, becoming one of the most feared outlaws of his time. He was charming and daring, often wearing disguises to evade capture. But by the early 1880s, Jesse's gang was falling apart, and he was running out of places to hide. He settled in St. Joseph, Missouri, using the alias Thomas Howard. Trusting the wrong people would be his downfall. On April 3, 1882, while Jesse was straightening a picture on the wall, Bob Ford, a member of his own gang who had struck a deal with the governor, shot him in the back of the head. Jesse James, who had survived countless gunfights and manhunts, was betrayed and killed in his own home. The Ford brothers were forever known as the cowards who killed Jesse James, living with the infamy of their treachery. Around the same time Calamity Jane was making her mark on the Wild West, Known for her rough demeanor and kind heart, Jane often dressed like a man, worked as a scout, and was skilled with both a gun and a horse. She was said to have saved lives and helped those in need, though her tales were sometimes exaggerated. Despite her bravado, Jane struggled with alcoholism, which took a toll on her health. In her later years, she joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, but her drinking often got her into trouble. She died in 1903 at the age of 51 in a hotel room in South Dakota and was buried next to Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood. It was said that despite their complicated relationship in life, their final resting places, side by side, were a tribute to their unspoken bond. As the Wild West began to fade, some legends sought quieter lives. Bat Masterson, once a feared lawman and gunfighter, traded his gun for a pen. After years of taming lawless towns alongside his friend Wyatt Earp, Bat moved to New York City, where he became a sports writer and newspaper columnist. He enjoyed the quieter pace of city life, far from the dangers of the frontier. On October 25, 1921, while writing his final column, Bat died of a heart attack at his desk. For a man who had faced countless shootouts and dangerous criminals, his end was unexpectedly calm. A peaceful conclusion to a life that had once been anything but. Others, like Annie Oakley, continued to inspire long after their time in the spotlight had ended. Annie was a sharpshooter who became famous as part of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. She was known for her incredible marksmanship, performing stunts like shooting a cigarette out of her husband's mouth. Annie's skills and confidence made her a role model for women at a time when few dared to step outside traditional roles. Despite her fame, Annie remained humble and kind, earning the admiration of audiences worldwide. She died in 1926 from anemia, and her devoted husband, Frank Butler, passed away just 18 days later, unable to bear life without her. They were buried side by side, united in death as they had been in life. Meanwhile, Belle Starr, the bandit queen, was making her own mark on the West. Known for her associations with notorious outlaws like the James Younger Gang, Belle lived a life filled with crime and controversy. She was convicted of horse theft and spent time in jail, but was more famous for her connections than her own criminal exploits. On February 3rd, 1889, just before her 41st birthday, Belle was ambushed and shot while riding home in Oklahoma. Her murder remains a mystery, with suspects including her own son and various enemies she had made over the years. Belle Starr's life and death were as dramatic and mysterious as the Wild West itself, full of twists and unanswered questions. Finally, there were Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, leaders of the Wild Bunch gang who became infamous for their train and bank robberies. Butch, whose real name was Robert Leroy Parker, and Sundance-born Harry Longabaugh, were known for their clever heists and daring escapes, including a famous leap off a cliff to evade capture. Tired of the endless chase, they fled to South America with Sundance's girlfriend at a place, hoping for a fresh start. But their past caught up with them. In 1908, after a payroll robbery in Bolivia, they were cornered by soldiers. In a final shootout, it's believed that Sundance was wounded, and Butch, unwilling to let his friend suffer, killed him before turning the gun on himself. Yet, rumors persisted that Butch Cassidy had survived and returned to the U.S. under a new identity, keeping the mystery of their fate alive. The Wild West may have been tamed, but the stories of these legends live on, echoing across the dusty plains and rugged mountains where they once roamed. Their lives were filled with danger and adventure, and their ends, whether dramatic or mundane, only added to the mystique that surrounds them. The tales of the Wild West remind us of a time when the rules were few, the risks were high, and every day was a fight to survive. If you want to see more of how they lived in those times, Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we have way more images in our camera roll. See you in the next one.